Welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast. My name is Seth Carnell. I am the storyteller on the Go Shout Love team, and I'm going to start today's episode off a little differently. Today is unique. We are getting an update from our very first official Go Shout Love family. By official, I mean our first t-shirt design, an initial family model for Go Shout Love, and a revisit from a family roughly 6 years later. Now, I want you to listen to this quote from Josh, which happens later on in the conversation, and I don't want this to go missed. It represents a lot about what we have experienced and learned from these families over the years, and why we do what we do. So take a listen.
Even beyond any sort of tangible, a medical stroller or whatever that some of the resources are going to use to help their everyday life, I really think for most of our families, that's icing on the cake. The idea that people would, that we would be a catalyst to rally the people that are already around them to kind of show up in ways that they didn't know that they could and give them an avenue to do that. And then even broader than the people that are around them. I think that is the element that really makes a difference. And even in our podcast conversations with these families, they tell us after the fact, just sitting down to have that conversation and knowing that people are interested in hearing their story, that they are seen, that they are heard, and that they are loved. That, when people, I don't think I really realized that element when I started kind of getting involved with Go Shout Love. I didn't see that aspect of it. I really just thought, we're selling products to be able to raise money. And my perspective of that is completely different now.
Today we are talking to Allison, the mother to Silas, or Mighty Si. Silas has a very rare and very complicated, unbalanced situation surrounding his chromosomes. Allison will explain in here much better than I could, but it does mean many things for Silas and his young life. Allison brings a lot to this conversation. She gives us a very authentic and open look into their journey, the chaos through the pregnancy and delivery of Silas, and she also gives a sincere glimpse into some of the darkness that surrounds this grief. We are very grateful for how open Allison is. It is important, especially for people who are in the midst of a dark season and don't feel like they can vocalize some of their feelings, and that they may be ashamed of themselves for feeling this way. Allison teaches us in this episode how important it is to talk to someone and let it out, no matter how it might sound. We also get a recap 6 years later, her thoughts on what it was like to be a Go Shout Love featured family, and how important it is for them and how vital it is to find our community. We are also so glad to be a community for Silas and his family, and to have them be a part of ours. In this interview is Josh Veach, one of our co-directors, whom you heard earlier. We also have the founder and current community relations director, Kristin Estock. It was very cool to have her in this conversation and hear her talk about making Go Shout Love official with Silas. I know it was really cool for her to talk to Allison and recap so many years later. This is a Skype call, and sometimes technology isn't so kind. We have done our best to clean up some of the sections where the call isn't as clear, but don't let that scare you. It is a great conversation. Here we go.
For many folks, this will be a brand new introduction, but for a lot of folks, this will be a reintroduction as well. So we are talking to Allison, and she is the mom of Silas. And Silas was the featured kiddo from June, wait for this, 2014. So that nice. It's crazy that's that long ago. It doesn't feel like it should be that long ago.
Way back.
Yeah. Yes. So just to get things rolling, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your family. Introduce us to your family.
Okay. Well, I am Allison Jacobsen, again, mom to Mighty Si. So Silas came into the world in June. May of 2013. So he was 1 year. He was like over a year old when he was the featured Go Shout Love kiddo. And at that time, I had posted like some of our journey on social media. And I think Kristin had found me randomly, right?
Yeah. I wish I could remember who to give thanks to, but someone I think a couple people had alerted me to your story.
Now let me back up just a little bit more. So we are a family of 4, and we live in Kansas City. And I am a full-time working mom, and my husband works as well. And we have 2 kids. So we have Silas, who is 6, and we have Jet, who is 3. Trying to think of what I need to catch you guys up on. There's been so much that's happened in 6 years. And
well, I want to pause you real quickly because we are recording this the Thursday after a pretty monumental moment in Kansas City sports history. So I'm assuming that you soaked in the entire Chiefs run and Super Bowl championship. And
oh my gosh, yes. It was so amazing to be a Kansas Cityan. So awesome to be in the city. The city was like electric. The kids got into it. We had a red snow day. So we did not have school yesterday for the big Chiefs parade. And it's just a lot of fun to see the city come together and the Chiefs win and everything. So
were you one of the thousands that went to the parade and the rally and all of that?
Well, I'm going to have to tell you, I was not. I went to the parade in 2015, the Royals parade, when they won the World Series. And let me tell you, I was looking around at some of those people with kids down there thinking, these have got to be the most miserable humans on the face of
yes.
time.
There's a difference between a parade in February in Kansas City and a parade in October.
Right. That they had the most beautiful day.
Yeah.
The Royals did, and the Chiefs had a better day, I think, than they expected. But it was a little bit different.
So tell us, going back to your family, family of 4, and Mighty Silas was your firstborn, and so tell us, just set us up a little bit on his journey and what his diagnosis is, and kind of what led you into that first year in connecting with Go Shout Love.
We got pregnant with Cy pretty quickly. We didn't really have any issues getting pregnant, and everything was pretty normal. We went in for our first ultrasound, and they couldn't see his stomach. And so that kind of threw a red flag. And then they were like, well, just come back in a week. It's fine. They found some other things. And then they were like, you need to go see a perinatologist. And then when we went to that appointment, it was I was for sure we were out of there. I was like, Sol, I was like, let's get a Starbucks after this. This is going to be a good day. Because, the sonographer doesn't tell you anything. And I did say, so do you see the stomach? Is it fine? And she's like, yes, I do see it, but they really can't give you any, they can't give it away because the doctor has to do that. So, so then the doctor came in and did her thing. And I just remember being in that dark room and it just being awful. And I thought we were just on our way out. She sat me up and she's like, I just want to tell you that your baby has a heart defect and we need to test you for, trisomy 13, 18, 21. So then they, I just started bawling, didn't hear anything else. I thought we were on our way out, and then our whole world came crashing down. So it was awful. Just like you would expect when you get a devastating diagnosis. And so then we didn't know anything. I ended up taking a blood test. I think it was called the Harmony test at the time, where it does check for those specific chromosome issues. I had to wait till 24 weeks pregnant to go see a pediatric cardiologist, where he did an echocardiogram, or not an echo. He did a sonogram of the heart and looked more in detail at the specific defect that we were dealing with. And then, after you found that out, then you just they started finding more things. So at each sonogram that I'd go to, they kept finding more things, and they found bilateral club feet, and they found that one of his kidneys were small, and just the more and more things that were coming up just led them to believe, something was definitely not good.
Did you get to the point where you were dreading your next appointment?
Oh, 100%. Like, I didn't want to go. And I didn't, and this is the other big thing, that I didn't tell anybody. Like, we did not tell anybody besides like my mom, very close people. So I just kept thinking the whole time that it was going to go away, or it was a bad dream. I didn't want anybody to know. Like, I was hoping that after he was born, it would be stuff that we could fix. I didn't want to like accept that it was some sort of like chromosome issue, because as we all know, we can't fix that. So
at this point, did they have like any sort of diagnosis idea?
I chose not to do an amniocentesis.
Right. Okay.
So that was the big thing that I was getting to, is that it wasn't going to change anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I was just like, why even do it? Like, because I didn't want to know either. Like, I just didn't want to know.
You're going to these appointments and getting more and more bad news.
I just went down like a dark hole. And the other thing that was happening at the same time is that my sister was pregnant. So she was 3 weeks. So she had her little girl 3 weeks before Silas. So we were pregnant with our first babies and my parents' first grandkids at the same time. And like, her pregnancy was perfect and mine was awful. But I remember like at a baby shower, like I just couldn't, I couldn't say anything because I just didn't want anybody to know. And everybody was so happy for us. And I was like dying inside. They had all these things that they thought were wrong with him, and they weren't going to be sure until he was born. So just went through the pregnancy, kept it dark. And then at 37 weeks, before that I was going in twice weekly, and they were doing stress tests, and I think biophysicals is what they were called. See, it's so crazy because you think you're never going to forget these things. And I'm like, well, what are they even called? Like, I don't even know. So, so I was going in, and then I went in one day, and the doctor was like, you got to go into the hospital. Things are starting to not look great in there. And we got to get him out. So they tried to induce me for labor, and it just wasn't progressing. And so then I ended up having a C-section with Silas at 37 weeks. And he, was small. He was 5 pounds, 3 ounces, but, at the beginning, they knew stuff was wrong, but they didn't have a great idea of what was going on yet. And, so we were at Shawnee Mission Medical Center, and, they had a brand new NICU, and it was great. We had our own room, and we were just kind of like working on feeding and trying to get it to eat. And then I think it was either like the 11th or the 12th day, I think, and he possibly aspirated. And when they were like, okay, we need to get you to Children's Mercy. So they took him down to Children's Mercy, and it's a completely different ballgame down there. So once you get down there and you have issues like he was having, they did a slew of scans and tests and tests and all the things. And but I remember a doctor coming in, and it was the pediatrician that we had chosen. And he said, I just remember him sitting there, because I was like bawling, and because I still was thinking that we could like fix all of these things. Like, these were fixable things. Like, if you have a heart defect, you can fix it. You can go on, you can live a normal life. If you have club feet, you can fix it. Like, I read all the Google things. I Googled everything on club feet. There was a professional football player who had club feet, and we've got an ice skater that had club feet, and I was just like, okay, we can fix these, and he's going to be okay. Like, things are going to be okay. And that doctor came in, and he was basically like, no, things are not good. And he just sat there, and I remember him like just kind of hugging me, and he said, I just don't know why bad things happen to good people. You're not in control.
Right.
So something I've learned.
You said that that the big three, as far as like the genetic things, what they ruled those out. So did they land on an underlying like source of these things that were going on? And if so, what was that? So
at Children's, we did find out from the genetic team that Silas, his diagnosis is 9p23 deletion 16q trisomy. So it's just an unbalanced translocation on the 9th chromosome and the 16th chromosome, where essentially there is information missing from the 9th chromosome and more information on the 16th chromosome, and they are switched. Like that's about is that's how I understand it. Sure. It's very, very complicated, and but it's unbalanced. So meaning it's unbalanced is where all of these like congenital defects start to come into play. You could have a balanced translocation, and things can, since it's balanced, then my assumption is that you turn out okay and things are normal. When I was in the hospital, I was always like Googling things like, okay, I have this information. It doesn't have a name. He doesn't have a syndrome. So I'm always like Googling things and trying to find like, you know, things like life expectancy and what can we expect, because nobody had any information for us. Like there was nothing. It was pretty crazy. Oh, and the other thing was that I was going to tell you guys is that we are not carriers for Silas's genetic defect. It is a de novo defect that basically means new in him. And so he could pass it on, of course, to children if he ever had them, which was unlikely. But we are not carriers for it. So it's like basically a less than 1% chance of happening to him, and basically a less than 1% chance of it happening again.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So how is he doing today? Because he seems just to be thriving and happy. And...
He is so good. He is so good. I just posted a video of him, and he's come so far. He is still definitely medically complex, but he's just not medically fragile right now. Like things have kind of normalized a little bit for us, you know, but I'm always still waiting for something to happen. You know, it's like you go in, he has all these things wrong with him. He looks awful on paper, like awful. But like, it's just stuff that we're watching. Yeah. You know, like maybe at some point these could pose a problem. There's always like that, like what if his heart starts acting up? What if his heart starts failing? Like all these things. And, but right now it's like, he's doing well. And you just really, right? You got to hold your breath. You don't want to rock the boat.
Right.
So
he's in school, right? Is that right?
He's in first grade.
You said first grade?
And,
yeah.
First grade. And he goes to a school in our district. I know I have a lot of patients that always ask that. Is he in a special school? And he's kind of not really. He doesn't go to like our home school in our neighborhood. There was a better program at a different school that's like 10 minutes away. It's a center-based classroom. So he's in the classroom for a percentage of the time. And then he's doing like PT, OT speech and other things in his like discovery room. So, cause you know, some things just don't pertain to him. He's not at that level of the kid. So, but yeah, so he's doing great. He loves school, loves it. The school that we've gone to has been phenomenal. It's been great. So, I mean, that's a huge worry for parents with kids like us, or like our kids. And, it's been wonderful. So I can't say good things. So,
well, for me, it's been so neat to watch because, I mean, we first featured you guys almost 6 years ago. So I feel like I've gotten to watch Silas grow up, and you as well, not grow up, but just transform into this new, like when we first which we can get into, how it came about and stuff. But when we first featured you guys, I feel like you were still in that, it was still fresh and mad and sad. And you're probably always going in and out of those stages. But I can't tell you how many families we have featured who say, I love to follow Allison. I love to follow Allison. Like, so many. And you are such, like, people, just for your rawness, your realness, and you just seem to be so happy and thriving yourself now, and just it's awesome. So,
well, that's because back again, back it up. If you go back and read my Instagram posts, like, I can't even do it because I about like cringe about it. They're cringe worthy. But it was a dark time. Like, I basically thought my life was over. Heck, I wanted it to be over. I mean, I wanted it. Now this, and I know that a lot of people can relate, and I'm okay saying this now because I'm out of it. Like, I was in the trenches. And I know you've talked to so many people that feel that way, but like after Silas was born, like I was waiting for him to die. Like, I wanted it all to go away. This is not what I had planned for my life. My life is not supposed to look like this. Just awful things that, I was thinking. I would have never hurt him. I think that there's just it's just hard. It's just hard. There was postpartum depression. I truly believe I had PTSD. It took me a good almost 2 years to fully, I don't even want to say recover because it's ongoing, but to kind of be okay with it. I just needed time. I needed time, and I needed to get out of the hospital. Because that was the hardest part. Hospital life is really, really, really hard. I can't even imagine being some of the family that are there. My friend Laura and her husband Ryan were there for 600 days with their daughter. I can't even imagine. And I needed to get away from it and just have my baby at home and be with him. And because it was all so foreign. And I was a new mom too. Like, it wasn't just like, hey, you're a new mom. Hey, right. You're a new mom with a kid with all of these defects. I didn't know if I was going back to work. I didn't. So then it's like, okay, if I can't go back to work and you're getting medical bills, I mean, like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of medical bills every Friday. I wouldn't want to go to the mailbox because there would be an EOB in there, and I had stacks of medical bills. And I just was like sick to my stomach.
You said it took a little while to not recover, but I'm wondering if maybe adapt would be a good word to that 2 years period. And you talked about the importance of bringing Si home into, bringing him home, and how that was one of the things that started to shift that. I wonder if you could point to 2 or 3 other things during that season that you could kind of say, as these things happened in my life, I could see that adaptation happening, that shift from out of that dark space into an understanding of a new normal, and maybe a little bit of hope that might have come with that.
It was like God knew that we needed people. And we were at church, and they were like, we're going to start a special needs community, a resource community in our church. And we met these people, and we went to this group, and one of the families there had said, hey, there's these waivers through the state, which we have no idea. We have no idea. And the hospital, honestly, at the time, and I hope that they've changed some of their ways, but at the time we didn't feel we got a lot of help in that regard from the hospital. So anyway, one of the families there had said, hey, there's these waivers through the state that you can apply for. So kids with disabilities, kids with medical needs, technology needs, they can get assistance, and you should apply for it. Because at the time, Silas had a lot of different technology that he needed. He still has technology that he needs to keep him alive, which is his G-tube. and his pump, his feeding pump. So we applied for this technology assistance waiver that a friend at church told us about, and it changed our life because it let us have a normal life. I was able to go back to work. Saul, went back to work. We got a home health nurse that was angel from above. Nurse Vicky I will always be so grateful for her. She was with us for 4 years, but I can say that was one of the turning points in the whole thing, was having home health nursing come into our home. And we were really, really lucky because sometimes it is a nightmare. It is honestly a nightmare. It's really hard having people in your home. It's really, really hard finding good help. It's really, really hard trusting a stranger with your baby in your home. So
it sounds like taking advantage of opportunities to create some of those rhythms that we create a new normal, and taking advantage of some of the things that help the really tangible day-to-day needs that and I would assume that even, especially having been in a dark season, that getting to that place I would assume even help transition the relationship that you have with your child, and even like helping shift into like getting to be able to see beyond some of the really hard things that you have to do and see to the heart of this beautiful child that's, dealing with all these tough things, and help kind of that bond. Would you say that's true?
100%. Just because like I said in the beginning, like it was almost like I didn't want him. Like I didn't want to touch him. And then it's really hard. It's really, really hard. Like doctors see it every day, and they're around typical looking kids, and like kids that look like Silas, or, kids that have syndromes and they have these quirks and everything. And when a doctor is telling you, oh, he has low set ears, or his hands are, and his fists are clenched, and his eyes are bulging, and, they're picking your child apart. And if they weren't doing that, I would not have seen that. There, listening to all of this, that's all I could see. And then when I'd go and see my sister's baby next to him, you could really see the difference. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm not saying it was just like the physical attributes, but it's the whole mental game too.
Humanizing him.
It's an alien. He's not my kid. So it was I know that sounds terrible. He is my child, but that's a space, that's where your headspace is. It's insane. Like it was such a dark time, and it took so long for me to accept him.
It was a process.
It was such a process.
And this is what's so important, I think, though, for people to hear, because a lot of people don't say these things, and people who are feeling them are in their dark time and are thinking, am I insane for thinking this? And I think it's so important to put it out there.
They have a palliative care team at Children's Mercy. And I remember the doctor saying, I think that you guys need to talk with the team, the palliative care team. And I was like, heck no, I don't want to talk to one other single person. I am not doing it. Like I was angry. Like I was not nice. I was angry about the whole situation. I was not myself. And I was just like, I'm not talking to anybody. But then they finally like talked me into it. And it was probably the best thing ever, because shout out to Marianne. I loved her. But I remember like sitting in a room with Saul and Marianne, and it was like, I want to give him up for adoption. Like I'm done. Like I don't want him. Like let's just move on from this. That's how insane this whole situation was. Even if what I was saying was crazy, she really listened to me, and she was with us. They follow you when you get discharged and everything for a long time, until you get discharged and your kid is healthy enough to get discharged, which is what you want, because the alternative is not great. So anyway, I loved her, and I loved the PAC team there, and I thought that was beneficial for us.
I know that we have families, or maybe families listening, or maybe families will feature soon, or not, who are in that dark now. And so I would love to ask you if you could talk to the Allison of 6 years ago, or 7 years ago, I guess, what you would say to her knowing what you know now. If you could just look her straight in the face and give her a talking.
Well, that Allison did need a talking to. It's gonna be okay. Like, I remember my friend Jenny saying that to me, and I was like, you're just full of it. Like, no, it's not. This is not happening to you.
Easy for you to say, Jenny.
It's
Jenny.
Okay. And I don't know why, but I just remember that. And it really is, but things are going to be hard. But here's the deal, guys. Like, I had never had a really hard thing happen to me. I have had a pretty life. You know, I've had grandparents pass away and things like that, like the normal life process things. And this basically took me out. It took me out. Like, I mean, and I just didn't know how to handle it. And I think that it's going to be okay, but it's going to take a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a lot of time, and you should probably go to therapy. I probably should have went to more, but yeah, you just have to surround yourself with people. I remember when I wasn't telling anybody when I was pregnant, I reached out to people on the internet. I looked up hashtags on Instagram and reached out to people. Some of those people saved my freaking life, I feel like. Mm-hmm. Katie and Jill and all these people, because I thought he had a terrible heart defect. And I remember my one friend, Instagram friend. Now, I have never met this person, but I've got a lot of friends on Instagram. And that's just the way of the world now. But Jill has a little boy, Judah, who has a massive heart defect, but he's doing amazing. And I remember she told me, like, she's like, you know, one thing I do for myself is I just get up and I put makeup on every single day because it makes me feel better. And that's what I did. Every day I went to the hospital, I put makeup on, and it did kind of make me feel better. So I know that that's like just a random tidbit, but I remember her. I'll never forget that.
Outside of your family and friends who are as close as family, there are likely few things that you put blood, sweat, and tears into like your home. So when it comes to finding someone to work on your house, you need folks that you can trust. Battles Home Improvement has proudly been serving the Abilene community for more than 60 years, transforming bathrooms, kitchens, exteriors, and more into beautiful and functional living spaces for your family. So whether it's a minor home improvement or time to turn your house into the house of your dreams with a major remodel, you know who's ready to tackle the project. Head over to aremarkablehome.com for more information and learn about the great team of Battles Home Improvement. Again, that's aremarkablehome.com, and we are grateful to have Battles Home Improvement as our lead sponsor for February and to have them shouting love for Miller with us all month long. Now, back to our chat.
It's really special for me to be able to talk to you about this because Nella was our inspiration, kind of our idea for Go Shout Love, but Silas was our very first official, with the company Go Shout Love. He was our first t-shirt design. Silas kicked it off. You guys trusted us to share your story and to put it out into the world, and we had never done this before. We were just an unknown company, and you guys just trusted us to do our thing, and so it's really special, and I would love to hear about your perspective on the whole thing and what that month was like for you.
So anyway, yes, it was so much fun and just something that we needed. We definitely needed at the time.
So you said he was a little over 1?
Yes. So he would have been just over 1. And I think that we just had come out of the hospital. I thing.
That sounds right. He was teeny tiny, and to look at him now, it's incredible.
Right. He was throwing up and having feeding issues, and we were in there for a month, and and then he had a surgery and all this stuff. But I just remember it was just a bright spot, like, because that was a hard time. That first year was the worst. It was the hardest. And I think for me, it gave me, I don't know, it just gave me something else to think about. And, not even the financial aspect of it, which was absolutely insane, incredible. But it was just like the love that we felt from so many people. And it's just crazy. So it's the people that you would never expect that you see wearing your shirts.
Show up. Yeah.
Show up for you. It was insane. Like, I loved it. I loved seeing everybody in their shirts. I still see everybody in their shirts. Some people will say, oh my gosh, like, we're on our third kid and we just got out our Go Shout Love shirt. And I'm just like, oh, it's the best shirt too. And they were the softest shirts. I love this.
Yes.
I'm wearing it tonight. Did you see this? I showed you.
Yeah.
So Silas's shirt is all the cool kids make a difference.
Yes.
And I feel it's so appropriate for Silas because he is just the coolest little dude. So, it is one of my favorites as well.
Same here.
It's the OG. It's the original.
Yeah. I have one from back then, and then we've put them back in the shop now, so we're still making them.
I did see that.
I got myself a refresh. I got a fresh one now. So
yeah, like you're saying, people showed up. Like the company was a baby. It was a little infant, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen with it. And Silas in that month was just the reminder for me or just the sign for me that this is to go for it. So the way people showed up for Silas and love Silas and your family, it was like, okay, we're going to do this. So
that was my favorite part, is seeing people in the shirts and and then me getting to like tag them. And so, was it you who had said you ran into someone like, or someone? Yes. It was in Costco. I saw somebody wearing his shirt and I was like, oh my gosh.
Was it a stranger? Was it someone you knew, or?
It was a long time ago, but it was in Costco. Yeah. People come out of the woodwork and show up for you. And that is amazing. And that is the type of person that I want to be for somebody else. No. That's what I learned from this journey. Doesn't matter what you show up. You don't have to give them $200.
Yeah.
Buy them a coffee. Send them a note. Do something little. Just show up.
Well, and you have watched Go Shout Love take different turns and grow and evolve over the past 6 years, which is crazy to say. So from your perspective, why would you say organizations like ours are important for families who are on their own rare medical journey? Why would you say they're needed?
Well, it's to get it out there. First of all, to, kind of highlight some of these rare diseases that these kids have that people do not know about. Before Nella, I didn't even know what SMA was.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty big disease. They have, a lot of kids have SMA. And so I didn't know. So, getting that out there, and then just like the community, you can go, somebody new that's facing a diagnosis that doesn't like me when I got Silas's heart defect diagnosis. And the doctor was like, oh, I think he has tetralogy of Fallot. So then here I am with the hashtags on Instagram looking for tetralogy of Fallot, and who knows what, Go Shout Love could come up because you guys have tagged them, and then you can connect with a family. I mean, that right there is huge. Finding other families online because you guys highlighted them to connect with. I mean, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then just the support, that you get from, like I said, your friends, your family, random people. It's just insane. Like on Instagram, we all know that my followers are there because of Silas, not because of me. I mean, let's be honest. I would like to think
I like listening to you and all your updates.
Allison posts a picture, gets 10 likes. Silas posts a picture, gets 250. So, I mean, it's like these people are invested in our story. Like, they have been following him since the beginning, and we just have like this little community, you know, and it's great. And I love some of these people. So I don't know, it was huge. A community, like, they need the support. Find your community. Go Shout Love is a great way to find your community, especially if you have a new diagnosis. So yeah, it's just a great thing. Love you guys.
I love you. Thank you for trusting us to kick off this organization with your story. Josh, did you ask anything more specifically about Go Shout Love?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think what's really cool, Allison, about what you were saying, it's really consistent with what we hear still with families that we work with, is that even beyond any sort of tangible, you know, medical stroller or whatever that some of the resources are going to use to help their everyday life, I really think for most of our families that's icing on the cake. The idea that people would, that we would be a catalyst to rally the people that are already around them to kind of show up in ways that they didn't know that they could, and give them an avenue to do that. And then even broader than the people that are around them. I think that is the element that really makes a difference. And even in our podcast conversations with these families, they tell us after the fact, just sitting down to have that conversation and knowing that people are interested in hearing their story, that they are seen, that they are heard, and that they are loved. That, you know, when people, I don't think I really realized that element when I started kind of getting involved with Go Shout Love. I didn't see that aspect of it. I really just thought, yeah, we're selling products to be able to raise money. And my perspective of that is completely different now. I feel like we are giving these families a voice.
Yes, you are. You're giving them a voice, and it's super isolating. And so it's just a happy thing. Like, it's just a fun, happy thing. And
to hear you say it's just such a fun, happy thing, like, that's just so, especially when you're in it, like you said, you're in the trenches, to have something happy, joyful, a month to look forward to with people just shouting love for you.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to steal this from Grace, because I think she said it on one of her things. She said it's like basically getting a hug. Like, you're getting all of these like virtual hugs. When somebody wears your shirt, it's like getting a hug. Or, you know, when somebody, just anything, when somebody sends you a note, does anything, it's like a hug. And you need a whole lot of hugs. Yeah, it was just a really great thing to take your mind off of all the other crap that was going on. So, yeah.
Good. I'm glad it was able to do that. Well, I just have one last question. I just would love to know what your biggest win has been for your family as you have navigated all of this. What you feel the biggest win is for you guys throughout this journey.
Well, Silas is still here. I didn't give him up for adoption. Well, Allison is still here too. They didn't give me up for adoption. I should say that.
They kept you.
Our biggest win? Oh my gosh, that's a tough question. I don't know. We've come a long way.
I think you guys have. Just to see him in school and smiley, and so, I mean, didn't you used to call him like little guy or little or small, but small dude? Yes, and he's just so. I mean, he just seems small. He doesn't seem so small anymore.
All the little wins have added up. You know, just you're right. Like, I remember when he couldn't sit up and he started sitting up, and I was like, oh my gosh, he sat up. Like, I was sure he wasn't ever going to be able to sit up. And then he sat up. And now I was like, oh, he's never going to crawl. Well, we got sitting up, so that's good. Okay. Well, now he's crawling. Now he's standing. Now we've got whole other issues. Now we have to push things back on the counters. And now we have to like watch his head. And I'm just like, oh,
and to see him together is just, his little brother is just incredible.
Yes, it's so fun. And it's so fun. Like, that was the other thing. Oh, one other thing, that I swore that I would never do. So this is a win. I was like, I am never having any more kids. Nope, not going through that. This was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. I will never, ever do that again. Well, I ate my words. So,
yeah, I remember you saying that.
Everything's fine. And I'm eating my words again. He might be harder to take care of than Silas. These typical kids, they ain't no joke, are they?
Parenting's hard, no matter what. Parenting is not for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
It really isn't. It's really hard, and nobody knows what they're doing, and
no set rule book or guidebook.
Rule book, and every kid is different, and we're all trying to survive out here, I think. So.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, the question that Kristin asked, as far as what would you tell Allison 6 years ago, is one of my favorite questions that we ask families, because I think it causes people to have a different perspective. It kind of is a shift there. But to flip that around, I don't know you very well, but I think if we could ask Allison of 6 years ago, if we could give her a snapshot of your family now and say, look where you are in 6 years, I think she'd say, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of my husband. I'm proud of my son. I'm excited about where we are. And that doesn't take away any of the hard stuff that you've had to go through. But man, what a cool journey to be able to see where you were, and then to be able to look at, even though now there's still hard times, there may still be a hospital stay here and there, but you've adapted and there's this new normalcy. And through that journey, you've been able to rediscover, I can sense it, rediscover joy and rediscover all the things that really make this life worth living, and make the seeing the beauty in your son and all of that. And so I won't ask you that question, but I will say that Allison from back then would tell you that she's proud of you.
Oh, thank you. I
agree.
This Allison has come a long way. But yeah, it's I'm just thankful. I really am thankful, because I have so many friends that have it much worse off than we do, and have really, really hard times, and they aren't able to do what we are able to do. I mean, we can leave our house, we can go out. Yes, we have some inconveniences, but I really am thankful, and I know how lucky we are to get to do those things. So I'll never take that for granted. Yeah. So
before we wrap up, where can people follow along with you and Mighty Si's journey?
So they can follow us at ARJake on Instagram. That's probably where we are the most active. And if you have any questions or you want to chat, just DM me. Because we all need a friend sometimes.
For sure.
If you're going through hard times. So, yep.
All right. Sounds good.
I cannot wait to do this with more families, reconnecting and hearing how life has been since being featured. These are remarkable stories, and we want as many people to hear them as possible. Please take a second to rate and review this podcast. As Josh mentioned, you can still buy the t-shirt that was designed for Silas. Go to our website, goshout.love, and shop around. And if you want to be a part of making a difference every month, you can start a subscription and receive a t-shirt and shout love every single month for the featured family. Use the discount code podcast at checkout and get $5 off your first month. And to all you shouters, thank you for what you do. We couldn't do this without you. Let's spread this around, and as loud as we can, go shout love. Thank you.